Section 4.2 is about greatest common factor. The greatest common factor is the biggest number that can be divided into two or more numbers. So that where this is going to help us is when we're simplifying fractions and so forth. But the biggest number that can be divided that goes into two numbers. So I'll show you an example here. Find the greatest common factor of 18 and 48. We want to find the biggest number that goes into both 18 and 48. To do this, we want to do our prime factorization first, and then I'll show you a nice easy trick for the greatest common factor. To figure out what the prime factorization of 18 is, we figure out, well, what are two things that go into 18? I can think of 2 and 9. 2 is a prime number, so we circle it, we're done with it. 9 breaks down into 3 and 3. All right, so 18 can be written as 2 times 3 times 3. And I am writing this in a very specific order here. There's a reason I put a big space in between this 2 and the 3, and I'll show you why. All right, 48. If I want to think of two numbers that go into 48, I can go 2 and 24. 2 is a prime number, and so let's go ahead and break down 24 now more. I can think of 8 and 3, and 3 is a prime number, so I'll circle that one. I can think of 2 and 4. 2 is a prime number, so I'll circle that, and 2 times 2. There might have been a shorter way to do that. That's what I chose to do. So prime factorization of 48 can be written as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So 4 2s and 1 3. So 48 can be written as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, 1 3. All right? And the reason I wrote this in a very specific way is because it'll make us easier to find the greatest common factor. Notice I wrote these in columns here. The greatest common factor is going to be the columns that each of these share. So 18 and 48, they both share 1 2. And they both share 1 3. Whoops, 1 3. So the greatest common factor of 48 and 18 is 6. You take 2 times 3. 6 goes into both 48 and 18. 6 goes into 48 8 times. 6 goes into 18 3 times. So that's the greatest common factor for two terms like that. Again, we can do the same thing for 6 and 12. We can break this down into our prime factorization, 2 times 3, and that's all I have, right? And 12 would be 6 times 2, and then 2 times 3. So again, I can write it as 2 times 3 is 6's prime factorization. 12's prime factorization is 2 times 2 times 3. And again, we put it in columns here. The ones that share columns is going to be my greatest common factor. So my 2, that column's full, so 2 times this column's full, 3. Greatest common factor of 6 and 12 is 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 6 divided by 12, or 12 divided by 6 is 2. Greatest common factor of 10 and 17, well, 10, 2 and 5, those two are both prime, so that's done. 17 is a prime number, so 1 and 17. If I were to write this out, I would have 2 times 5, and then over here, for 17, I would have 1 times 17. I don't have anything that fits except for 1 is also a factor of 10. The only thing that fits, there's no other columns that fit than 1, so the greatest common factor between 10 and 17 is just 1. Now let me show you how to do this with 3, and it's going to be very similar. We're going to take the prime factorization, and then we're going to set them up in our columns, and the full columns are going to be the ones that are greatest common factor. All right, so let's going to do our prime factorization of 12. We said 6 times 2. 2 is prime, so we circle it. 3 times 2. Those are all prime. So way over here, I can write, well, let's do it down here. 12 can be written as 2 times 2 times 3. All right? I'm going to leave some space in there just in case. 24. 6 times 4 is 24. Neither of those are prime, but I can break down 6 into 2 times 3. Those two are prime. And 4 into 2 times 2. So 24 can be written as 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. All right. So I have 3 2s and 1 3. And then lastly, 6 here. 60, I mean. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 can be broken into 2 and 3. 10 can be broken into 2 and 5. So let's rewrite 60 as with our prime factorization. That would be 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. So then again, I have them in my columns. Again, I have just 2's over here. Then I left a space and I put 3's. And then I left a space and I put 5's. All right, so again, now to get the greatest common factor, we're going to take all the columns that are full. So we need to take a 2. We need to take another 2. That column's full. And we need to take a 3. That column's full. So our greatest common factor of 12, 24, and 60 is 2 times 2 times 3, which is 4 times 3, which is 12. The greatest common factor of those is 12. 12 goes into each one of those. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 24 divided by 12 is 2. And 60 divided by 12 is 5. So 12 is the greatest common factor of those three numbers. I hope this helps. See you.